Welcome back, Project Mayhem. Gather round. Tune out the incessant chatter, the self-congratulatory back-patting, the performances of a life you're constantly told you should be living. You ever really look at it? The constant pressure, the relentless saccharine bombardment. Good vibes only. Choose happiness. Just manifested. It's everywhere. From the grinning gurus hawking their latest emotional snake oil, to the relentlessly upbeat influencers peddling a life of perfectly curated joy. They tell you happiness is a choice, a mindset, a product you can buy, and if you're not perpetually beaming, if you're not radiating that pristine Instagram filtered glow, well, that's your fault. You're not trying hard enough, you're not positive enough, you're broken. Bullshit. This isn't about genuine well-being. This isn't about authentic contentment. This is about a meticulously constructed emotional tyranny. A system designed to demand you perform joy, to suppress anything that feels uncomfortable, and to silence the inconvenient, true feelings of your own existence. It's the ultimate force of control, dictating not just what you do, but what you feel. And if you don't conform, if you dare to feel anything less than ecstatic, grief, anger, fear, frustration, you're an outcast, a killjoy, a drain on the positive energy. We are here to tear down this facade, to rip open the shiny, smiling surface and expose the rotten core. We're going to lay bare the hidden costs of this relentless pursuit of forced happiness, because true freedom isn't about being happy all the time, it's about being real. It's about owning the full spectrum of your human experience, the light and the shadow, the triumphs and the gut punches. So strap in. We're about to wage war on the tyranny of happiness. And trust me, it's going to hurt a little. It's going to make you uncomfortable, but the truth often does. Let's get started. 835. You think this relentless be happy crap, this demand for constant emotional sunshine is some modern invention? Some recent outbreak of saccharine self-help? Think again. This isn't new. This isn't an accident. This is a carefully cultivated strain of emotional repression, slowly, insidiously woven into the very fabric of our society over centuries. We're going to trace the lineage of this doctrine from its seemingly innocuous beginnings to its full, suffocating bloom. We're going to dissect how a simple, innate human desire for well-being was twisted, co-opted, and weaponized into a system of control, turning your internal world into yet another marketplace. Let's rewind. Forget the manicured lawns and polite smiles of the 21st century. Cast your mind back to the Victorian era. What do you picture? Stiff collars, rigid manners, a pervasive sense of decorum. This wasn't just about fashion, it was about emotional control. The Victorians, particularly in the upper and middle classes, practiced a kind of stoicism that would make a Roman emperor blush. Public displays of emotion, especially anything deemed negative or unseemly, were strictly discouraged. Grief was private, joy was tempered, anger was an unpardonable sin. The ideal was self-restraint, emotional mastery, a calm and unruffled exterior. This wasn't about genuine internal peace, it was about presenting a controlled, respectable facade to the world. A stiff upper lip wasn't just a British stereotype, it was a societal mandate. Your emotional state was a reflection of your moral character, and any deviation from quiet composure was a sign of weakness, of being uncivilized. This laid a quiet yet firm cornerstone for the idea that certain emotions were bad and should be suppressed, while others, primarily polite, agreeable ones, were acceptable. The very concept of keeping up appearances became a social imperative, and that included maintaining a facade of emotional stability, regardless of the turbulent reality within. Now, fast forward a bit. The Industrial Revolution rages. Factories churn, cities swell, and the very rhythm of human life accelerates. No longer are people working largely autonomously or even in close-knit artisanal groups. Now, masses of individuals are congregated in massive, impersonal factories, performing repetitive tasks. What kind of worker do you need in this environment? not a passionate, emotionally expressive individual. You need a cog. You need a compliant, uncomplaining, predictable unit of labor. Emotional outbursts, dissent, personal grievances, these were inefficiencies, disruptions. The system needed workers who could suppress their feelings, who could arrive on time, perform their duties, and leave without causing a fuss. The emphasis shifted from individual well-being to collective productivity. The individual's emotional landscape became secondary, even detrimental to the smooth operation of the machine. The concept of leaving your feelings at the door wasn't just a suggestion, it became an unwritten rule of the emerging industrial age. If you were unhappy, you were unproductive. If you were angry, you were a problem. This era solidified the idea that emotions, particularly inconvenient ones, were obstacles to efficiency and progress. Your worth was increasingly tied to your output, and emotional states that hindered that output were subtly, and then not so subtly, demonized. Then came the turn of the 20th century, and with it the relentless rise of American consumerism. This is where the truly cynical twist began. Advertising wasn't just about selling practical goods anymore. It started selling a feeling, a lifestyle, an identity. Every ad, every jingle, every gleaming product promised not just utility, but joy. You buy this car, you'll be happy. You wear these clothes, you'll be beautiful, therefore happy. You use this cleaning product, your home will be perfect, and you'll be happy. You achieve this ideal, you'll be happy. Happiness became a destination, a state of being that was just one purchase away. This wasn't just a marketing strategy, it was a profound psychological manipulation. They didn't just sell you stuff, they sold you an emotional destination, a feeling you could only achieve through acquisition. This laid the groundwork for what we're now calling emotional capitalism. Your feelings themselves become a commodity, something to be managed, optimized, and ultimately profited from. The media, from early radio to glossy magazines, started bombarding the public with images of smiling, carefree families, perpetually content consumers. This created a visual grammar of happiness, an unspoken rule that if you had the right products, the right lifestyle, you should be happy. And if you weren't, it wasn't the product's fault, it was your fault for not buying enough, or buying the wrong things, or simply not trying hard enough to achieve that promised emotional state. Think of the post-World War II boom, the suburban ideal, the nuclear family, the smiling housewife. This wasn't just a social construct, it was an emotional one. The expectation was universal contentment, a life of blissful conformity. Any deviation, any hint of dissatisfaction was an aberration. And let's not forget the nascent psychological movements of the era. While some early pioneers genuinely sought to understand the full spectrum of human experience, others, perhaps unintentionally, contributed to this happiness imperative. The focus began to shift towards positive outcomes, towards adjustment to societal norms. Mental health became less about understanding complex internal landscapes and more about ensuring individuals were productive, contented members of society. If you were struggling, the underlying assumption began to be that you needed to be fixed, often through means that encouraged the suppression of uncomfortable truths in favor of a more palatable, adjusted emotional state. The very language of psychology started to lean towards a binary, healthy versus unhealthy. This inadvertently validated the idea that happiness was the default desirable state and anything else was a problem to be solved. The emphasis moved from collective care and shared burdens to a radical individualism regarding emotional states. If you were unhappy, it was your responsibility to fix it. Society didn't need to change, you needed to change your mindset. This neatly sidestepped any need to address systemic inequalities, economic injustices, or genuine societal pressures that might contribute to widespread distress. Why confront unemployment or poverty when you can simply tell people to choose joy in the face of adversity? This was a convenient narrative for the powerful and a crushing burden for the individual. So what have we seen? A slow, steady creep. From the rigid emotional control of the Victorians, where feelings were private and suppressed for social order, to the industrial age where emotions became hindrances to efficiency and the ideal worker was a dispassionate cog in the machine. Then the explosion of consumerism, which began to directly link happiness to acquisition, transforming your internal world into a market for goods and services. And finally, the subtle yet powerful influence of certain psychological narratives that pathologize normalcy and push the responsibility for emotional well-being squarely onto the individual, divorcing it from broader societal contexts. This wasn't some grand conspiracy. It was a gradual, insidious evolution, a confluence of societal demands, economic incentives, and cultural shifts. It solidified the idea that happiness wasn't just a desirable state, it was a demand, a moral obligation. And if you didn't deliver, if your face wasn't plastered with that toothy grin, then you were failing, not just yourself, but the system. This has laid the undeniable groundwork for the toxic positivity we see today. It's the historical bedrock of the multi-billion-dollar wellness industry, the self-help gurus, and the social media facades that plague our modern existence. They're not creating something new. They're simply exploiting centuries of emotional conditioning. They're profiting from a narrative that says your natural, complex human emotions are somehow wrong, and that the only way to fix them is to buy their solution. This isn't just about smiling. It's about buying into a system that profits from your emotional striving, from your very real pain. We've been conditioned to believe that our true feelings are inconvenient, undesirable, and perhaps even dangerous, and that the ultimate aspiration is a bland, sanitized, perpetually cheerful existence. Alright, Project Mayhem, unbuckle your seatbelts because we are entering the true belly of the beast. If the previous section was about the subtle historical conditioning, this section is about the full frontal assault on your emotional integrity. This is where the Be Happy doctrine becomes a multi-billion-dollar industry. We're talking about the toxic positivity industrial complex, a sprawling network of gurus, grifters, life coaches in quotation marks, motivational speakers, and entire corporations built on the premise that you are fundamentally broken and that your only salvation lies in their patented brand of relentless, often unearned cheerfulness. You see them everywhere. The perfectly quiffed manifestation coaches promising you unlimited wealth and perfect relationships if you just align your vibrations. The self-proclaimed gurus with their gleaming smiles and vague platitudes, raking in millions from seminars that teach you to choose joy over genuine emotional processing. The social media influencers, living a curated fantasy telling you to just think positive as if crippling debt, systemic injustice, or profound grief can be wished away with a vision board and a sunny disposition. This isn't about genuine well-being. This isn't about authentic growth. This is about a predatory industry that weaponizes your insecurities, your anxieties, and your very real struggles, then repackages them as opportunities for growth that can only be unlocked with their proprietary system, their exclusive retreat, their latest book, their expensive online course. They sell you the fantasy of emotional ease while simultaneously ensuring you remain dependent on their solutions for that elusive feeling. It's a spiritual Ponzi scheme where the only thing that's guaranteed is their ever-growing bank account. Let's dissect their tactics. They operate on a fundamental premise. You are inadequate. You are not wealthy enough, not successful enough, not attractive enough, not happy enough. This feeling of inadequacy, this internal void, is precisely what they exploit. They present themselves as having cracked the code to universal contentment, implying that your struggles are simply due to your own ignorance or lack of effort. They simplify complex human emotions and experiences into digestible, marketable catchphrases. Good vibes only. Your thoughts create your reality. Elevate your frequency. These sound empowering, but in practice they are disempowering. They neatly sidestep any acknowledgement of external circumstances, systemic issues, or the inherent messiness of life. Consider the positive affirmations industry. You're told to stand in front of a mirror and recite, "I am abundant, I am worthy, I am happy," even when your bank account is empty, your relationships are crumbling, and your spirit is in tatters. This isn't about genuine self-belief, it's about overriding your critical faculties, about forcing a false reality onto your consciousness. It's a form of cognitive dissonance that, rather than solving your problems, often just makes you feel worse when the external reality stubbornly refuses to conform to your forced internal narrative. It blames the victim. If your affirmations aren't working, it's not the affirmations that are flawed, it's your belief in them. You didn't try hard enough, you didn't want it enough. And then there's the pervasive cult of manifestation, this pseudo-spiritual concept popularized by books and documentaries that promise boundless wealth and joy. Suggests that simply by thinking positive thoughts like Peter Pan, you can bring anything into existence. Lost your job? Manifest a new one. Struggling with depression? Manifest happiness. This doctrine places the entire burden of success and happiness solely on the individual's mental state, completely ignoring any external factors, including blind luck. This creates a vicious cycle of self-blame, where genuine failure or misfortune is interpreted as a personal, moral, or energetic failing, rather than a common human experience or the result of external pressures. It's a cruel form of victim blaming dressed up in spiritual jargon. This leads us directly to the core of what we call toxic positivity itself. This isn't just about being optimistic, it's the insistence on maintaining a positive mindset at all costs, regardless of the circumstances. It's the belief that any negative emotion, anger, sadness, fear, grief, or frustration, is inherently bad, something to be suppressed, ignored, or replaced with a positive alternative. You're furious about an injustice, a blatant wrong, and someone says, "Don't dwell on negativity," or "Just focus on the good." This isn't wise counsel, it's a stifling of righteous anger, a demand for emotional compliance to prevent you from recognizing or addressing real problems. Toxic positivity invalidates your very real human experience. It forces you to perform a cheerful façade even when you're crumbling inside. This emotional repression doesn't make your feelings go away, it pushes them underground, where they fester, causing anxiety, depression, loneliness. When you can't express your true feelings, when you're constantly told to look on the bright side, you become isolated. Your friends, family, and community are implicitly trained to reinforce this emotional censorship, fearing that your negative energy might contaminate their own fragile positivity. This industry thrives on your emotional illiteracy. It thrives on your lack of tools for genuine emotional processing. Instead of teaching you how to sit with discomfort, how to grieve, how to experience anger constructively, they teach you to bypass these vital human experiences entirely. They sell you avoidance wrapped in a glittery bow. And each time you buy into it, each time you force a smile, each time you suppress a genuine tear or a righteous shout, you reinforce the very system that profits from your emotional disconnect. Consider the sheer scale of this complex. The global wellness market, a vast segment of which is dedicated to mental and emotional optimization, is valued at trillions of dollars. Trillions. This isn't just about a few charlatans on Instagram. This is a legitimate economic powerhouse that has successfully commodified your inner world. Every mindfulness app, every happiness coach, every motivational speaker, every book on the secret to a blissful life, they are all part of this machine, feeding the narrative that emotional struggle is a personal failure that can be overcome by purchasing the right framework, the right mindset, and the right guru. They don't want you genuinely whole. A truly emotionally resilient person, someone capable of navigating the full spectrum of their feelings, who understands that pain is a part of life and doesn't need to be constantly cured or suppressed, is a bad customer. A truly empowered individual who recognizes that systemic issues contribute to widespread unhappiness is a threat to the narrative. They want you perpetually striving, perpetually believing that happiness is just out of reach, always requiring one more purchase, one more seminar, one more mindset shift. This is the cynical underbelly, an industry that profits from your despair by selling you an unattainable ideal of cheer. It actively discourages you from processing real emotions, from connecting genuinely with others who might share your struggles, and from confronting the actual sources of your discomfort. It's a sugar-coated poison designed to keep you emotionally dependent and perpetually buying. You are not broken. Your feelings are not flaws. And the first step to reclaiming your emotional sovereignty is to recognize the true enemy, not your pain, but the smiling force that profits from your attempt to escape it. This is not about self-help. It's about self-enslavement, dressed in the Emperor's new clothes of positive vibes. And we are here to expose the naked truth. Next time you are out in the world, take a look around you. Every head bowed, every thumb scrolling, every face illuminated by the cold glow of a screen. We live in a world where the majority of our interactions, our aspirations, our very perception of reality are mediated by the glowing rectangle in our hand. And within that digital realm, the tyranny of happiness finds its most fertile ground. We're talking about the social media facade. These aren't just platforms, they are engineered stages where everyone is an actor in their own edited, optimistic highlight reel. Think about it, the perfect brunch bathed in the golden hour light, the sun-drenched vacation captured in a flawless panoramic shot, the beaming family portrait, everyone impossibly cheerful and coordinated, the woke activism post dripping with performative empathy, the perfectly toned body, achieved through hard work and dedication, and probably a filter, a personal trainer, and a genetics lottery win. It's a relentless aspirational onslaught of engineered joy, a never-ending parade of curated perfection, and you, my friend, are constantly bombarded with it. It's an emotional arms race where the weapon is a smile and the casualty is your genuine self. Let's dissect the psychological impact of this endless scroll of perceived perfection. The most immediate, most crippling effect is the comparison trap. You're scrolling through your feed, seeing everyone else's manufactured euphoria, and what happens? You unconsciously, perhaps even consciously, compare your messy, imperfect reality to their meticulously crafted digital fantasy. Your unmade bed versus their pristine minimalist aesthetic. Your morning struggle versus their effortless morning routine. Your everyday anxieties versus their state of blessed contentment. This isn't just mild envy. This is a profound, soul-crushing erosion of self-worth. It feeds into the insidious narrative that if you are not as beautiful, as successful, as adventurous, or as happy as the people you see online, then you are fundamentally inadequate. It creates a deficit model of self-esteem. You are constantly lacking. This can lead to increased anxiety and creeping depression. Because here's the brutal truth. You're not just seeing happy people. You're seeing performances of happiness. You're seeing aspirations of happiness. You're seeing manipulations of happiness. And your brain, bless its gullible heart, doesn't always know the difference. It takes it as reality, and then it asks, why isn't my reality this perfect? This brings us directly to the immense pressure to perform happiness online. The constant need to caption your struggles with inspirational platitudes, to filter out any sign of discomfort, to turn every genuine emotion into a shareable vignette. You just lost your job? Post about new beginnings and trusting the universe. You're battling a debilitating illness? Frame it as a journey of strength and a lesson in gratitude. You're furious about a social injustice? Express it through a carefully worded, non-confrontational post that won't alienate your audience or affect your brand. This isn't connection. This is self-censorship for likes. It's the commodification of your emotional experience, where your genuine feelings are filtered, polished, and presented for public consumption, hoping for validation in the form of hearts and thumbs up. You're not sharing, you're performing your life. You're constantly monitoring your own emotional state, not for self-awareness, but for public consumption. Does this look happy enough? Is this inspiring enough? Will this get enough engagement? This does nothing but generate a deep sense of inauthenticity. You become detached from your actual feelings because you're more concerned with how your feelings look to others. You start to internalize the idea that only certain emotions are acceptable, that only certain narratives are shareable. The raw, beautiful truth of your existence is deemed unworthy of the digital stage. This constant performance drains your emotional energy, leaving you feeling hollow, disconnected, and deeply unfulfilled. It makes genuine connection harder, because how can you truly connect with someone when you're both presenting carefully curated, emotionally sanitized versions of yourselves? And the algorithms, those invisible puppet fuckers, they reinforce this positive feedback loop. They're designed to show you more of what you're already like, more of what gets engagement. So if aspirational, perfectly happy content gets clicks and shares, they'll show you more of it. They don't care about your mental health, they care about your screen time, they care about your data, they care about keeping you scrolling, consuming, and ideally buying. They're not showing you reality, they're showing you a commercially viable hallucination, and you're trapped inside it. Consider the phenomena of Finsta accounts. Fake Instagram accounts where people feel they can post their real lives, their real emotions away from the judgmental eyes of their main feed. The very existence of a fake Instagram underscores the pressure to perform on the real one. It's a sad testament to how deeply ingrained this facade has become, forcing people to create secret emotional hiding places just to be themselves. We're living in a world where authenticity has to go underground. This isn't just about making you feel bad, it's about making you compliant. A perpetually striving, self-blaming individual is less likely to question the systems that keep them striving. If you're constantly feeling inadequate because you're not happy enough, you're less likely to channel that dissatisfaction into collective action, into demanding real change. Instead, you turn inward, blaming yourself, buying into the next self-help book, the next manifestation course, the next perfect lifestyle product that promises to finally deliver that elusive digital happiness. The constant need to project an image of perfect happiness is exhausting. It strips away your capacity for genuine self-reflection and authentic connection. It replaces empathy with envy and real human experience with curated content. The first step to breaking free from this digital emotional gulag is to recognize it for what it is. A crafted illusion designed to keep you scrolling, consuming, and forever discontent with your perfectly imperfect life. Your unedited self, with all its flaws and struggles, is far more valuable than any perfectly filtered, performative display of joy. It's time to log off from the performance and log into reality. Listen closely. This is a crucial point, one that strikes at the very core of your being. We live in a world that, with increasing zeal, pathologizes normal human emotions. It's a subtle but devastating shift, a redefinition of your inner world from a rich, complex landscape to a series of problems that need to be solved, eliminated, or medicated. Feeling sad after a loss? That's not grief, that's depression, and there's a pill for that. Feeling angry about injustice? That's not righteous indignation. That's negative energy, and you need to raise your vibration or practice forgiveness. Feeling anxious about the future, about the precariousness of existence, about the state of the world? That's not a natural human response. That's an anxiety disorder. And fuck me, there's a therapy, a technique, a breath exercise, or a medication to sort that right out. This isn't just semantic hair-splitting. This is a dangerous narrative that tells you your very real, very human feelings are glitches in the system, that they are abnormal, that you are somehow deficient for experiencing the full spectrum of human emotion. It's a fundamental betrayal of your own lived experience, stripping away the validity and purpose of emotions that have served humanity for millennia. Let's dismantle this dangerous notion right now. Your sadness, your anger, your fear are not bugs. They are features of the human operating system. They are not weaknesses, they are vital, even sacred parts of being alive. They are signals, they are messengers. They are the raw, unvarnished data of your life telling you what's really going on inside and out. Think about sadness and grief. These aren't states to be avoided at all costs, despite what the gurus tell you. Sadness tells you what you value, what you cherish, what you've truly lost. Grief isn't a problem to be solved, it's the natural, necessary process of healing from loss, of integrating profound change into the very fabric of your being. When you lose a loved one, a job, a dream, a fundamental aspect of your identity, sadness and grief aren't just appropriate responses, they are the healthy responses. To deny them, to suppress them with false positivity or mindless distraction, is to deny yourself the vital, fundamental process of adaptation and renewal. It leaves wounds unhealed, festering beneath the surface, waiting for a trigger to erupt. Yet how often are we told relentlessly to get over it, to move on, to be strong, and for God's sake don't cry. The societal pressure to quickly bounce back, to project an image of effortless resilience, actively prevents genuine emotional processing. It leaves individuals isolated in their pain, ashamed of their very natural sorrow, forced to perform an emotional recovery they haven't achieved. And what about anger? This emotion, perhaps more than any other, has been utterly demonized in the era of toxic positivity. It's branded as negative energy, as unproductive, as something unspiritual that you must purge from your system. You're told to let it go, to forgive, to transmute it into something positive, something palatable. But righteous anger, Project Mayhem, is a powerful primal force. It's a force for change. It tells you exactly where your boundaries are being violated, where injustice is occurring, where something fundamentally, unequivocally wrong needs to be addressed. It's a primal scream against oppression, against unfairness, against degradation, against being walked all over. When you suppress this anger, when you swallow it down and force a serene smile, you're not just stifling a feeling, you're stifling crucial information about your values, your boundaries, and the raw truth of the external world. You become a doormat, a complacent bystander. You allow injustice to continue because you're too busy trying to raise your vibration instead of fighting for what's right. History is made by righteous anger, not by forced smiles and empty platitudes. Then there's fear and anxiety. In our positive vibes-only culture, fear is treated as a weakness, a personal failing, and anxiety as a disorder to be medicated into oblivion, to be managed away. But fear is a primal protective mechanism. It tells you when there's actual danger, when caution is needed, when your very survival is at stake. Anxiety, while often debilitating in its extreme forms, at its root is a signal that something important is at stake, that you need to pay attention, prepare, or react. In a world bristling with genuine threats, a complete absence of fear or anxiety would be, frankly, pathological. To constantly manifest courage or positive outcomes in the face of legitimate, tangible threats isn't bravery, it's delusion. It prevents you from taking necessary precautions, from building genuine, hard-won resilience, and from engaging with the world's real and difficult challenges. It keeps you passively optimistic while the world burns. This brings us to my favorite, the clinical, the medical, the pharmaceutical industry's role in this pathologizing of normalcy. It's a lucrative business model, a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut. If every uncomfortable human experience can be labeled a disorder or a condition, then guess what? There's a treatment, a therapy, or most profitably, a pill for it. The desperate craving for immediate relief from any discomfort, from any emotional disturbance, has contributed to a culture that avoids emotional pain at all costs. Instead of processing, we medicate. Instead of feeling, we numb ourselves. We become a society of emotional zombies, chasing the next hit of synthetic calm. Now, let's be clear. Genuine clinical depression, severe anxiety disorders, and other mental health conditions absolutely exist, and they absolutely require professional, compassionate help. This is not a blanket condemnation of all mental health care, but the line has become dangerously blurred. The normal ebb and flow of human emotion, the natural, healthy responses to a chaotic, often brutal world are increasingly being medicalized. The pharmaceutical industry heavily funds research that often frames these normal responses as medical conditions, pushing chemical solutions as the primary, often only answer. Doctors, under immense pressure from a broken system and with precious little time for deep patient engagement, are trained to identify symptoms and prescribe. It's easier, quicker, and undeniably more profitable to diagnose and medicate than to engage in the complex, time-consuming process of genuine emotional processing, societal critique, or even the radical notion of addressing systemic change that might be contributing to widespread distress. Consider the crushing societal pressure to get over it quickly. The unspoken, often brutal rule that after a certain period of mourning, of struggle, you should just be back to normal. This prevents healthy, deep processing of complex feelings. It pushes people to feign recovery, to put on a brave face, to lie to themselves and others, rather than genuinely work through their emotions at their own natural pace. This cultural imperative to quickly return to positivity leads to shallow emotional experiences, a crippling lack of self-compassion, and ultimately, a profound inability to genuinely connect with others who might be struggling. Because if you can't admit your own pain, if you can't be honest with yourself about your own internal chaos, how the fuck can you truly empathize with someone else's? You're just looking for the quickest way to fix them, to get them back to that smiling facade. This emotional censorship, this pathologizing of normalcy, doesn't just make you feel bad about feeling bad. It cripples your ability to navigate the world with genuine strength and clarity. When you're constantly told that your negative emotions are problems to be fixed, defects to be hidden, you lose touch with your inherent value. You lose the internal compass they provide. You become emotionally illiterate, unable to understand what your own feelings are desperately trying to tell you. This leaves you vulnerable to manipulation, unable to identify injustice, and constantly chasing an elusive, manufactured emotional state that exists only in advertising campaigns and self-help paperbacks. The very resilience we are supposedly striving for is fundamentally undermined by this approach. True resilience isn't the absence of struggle, it's the capacity to move through it. It's the ability to feel the full raw weight of a moment, to learn from it, to adapt, to absorb the lessons, and to emerge on the other side with greater wisdom and earned strength. If you are constantly suppressing valid emotions, constantly forcing a smile whilst your soul screams, you are not building resilience. You're building a dam that will inevitably break, often with far more devastating consequences. You're robbing yourself of the very experiences that forge character, deepen empathy, and illuminate the stark, beautiful, unfiltered truth of human existence. This is the grim reality. This is a direct challenge to the notion that negative emotions are inherently bad. It argues instead for their inherent value, their absolute necessity for a truly well-rounded, resilient human being. It's about reclaiming your fundamental right to feel fully, deeply, and unapologetically. It's about seeing your anger, your sadness, your fear not as flaws to be eradicated, not as sickness to be cured, but as vital information, as calls to action, as indicators of your undeniable humanity. Don't let them tell you your feelings are a sickness. Your feelings are your truth. And in a world that demands you hide it, that demands you smile through the pain, embracing the truth, owning every single emotion, is the most revolutionary act of rebellion. Alright, Project Mayhem. You've journeyed through the manufactured smile. You've seen the historical rot that laid its foundation. You've watched the gurus pick your emotional pockets, navigated the digital funhouse mirror, and understood how your deepest, most vital feelings have been pathologized, branded as defects, and suppressed. You've seen the cage. Now it's time to talk about the only thing that matters, breaking out of it. It's time for the antidote, for reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. You've sat there, consumed the truth, felt the uncomfortable stirring in your gut. You've recognized the insidious nature of this emotional fascism. Now understand this. Reclaiming your emotional sovereignty isn't about suddenly becoming miserable all the time. That's just another form of tyranny, a different kind of prison. What this is truly about, what it must be about, is being real. It's about recognizing that true strength, genuine power, and real resilience lie not in the performance of perpetual cheer, not in the relentless suppression of discomfort, but in the savage courage to face and fully integrate the entire, glorious, brutal spectrum of your human experience. The light, the shadow, the gut-wrenching pain, the fleeting joy, the searing anger, the quiet despair. All of it. Every last fucking piece. It's all part of the package. It's all you. The first, most fundamental, most radical step in this insurgency, this quiet revolution that will redefine your inner world, is the seemingly simple yet profoundly difficult act of acknowledging your feelings without judgment. This isn't some fluffy self-help mantra you hear whispered in a yoga studio. This means consciously, deliberately identifying what you're truly experiencing in this precise moment. Is it a burning anger simmering beneath your skin? Is it a profound sadness, a dull ache in your chest? Is it the cold dread of fear or the frantic flutter of anxiety? Is it perhaps a fleeting moment of genuine, unmanufactured joy? You name it, you feel it, you allow it to exist, and you validate it without hesitation as a legitimate response to your reality, whatever that reality may be. There are no shoulds, there are no buts that follow. No caveats like, I shouldn't feel this way. Just pure, unadulterated, unvarnished acceptance of your internal landscape as it is right now. It means giving yourself the brutal, beautiful permission to feel what you feel without immediately trying to fix it, explain it away, or apologize for its inconvenient existence. It's about an honest self-inventory, a direct confrontation with the truth of your own soul. I'll mention journaling here, but not as a means to achieve some preordained positive outcome, some perfectly manicured narrative of growth. This is journaling as a weapon of self-discovery, a blunt instrument for honest introspection, a clandestine space where the unfiltered raw truth of your emotional life can finally breathe, unjudged and unafraid. Then there's meditation, but not as a shortcut to perpetual bliss, not as a tool for forced positivity. Meditation is a method for quiet internal reconnaissance, a practice of simply being with what arises within you, whether it's comfortable or otherwise. It's about creating space in your life, carving out moments of profound silence amidst the relentless, clamoring noise of the outside world to truly listen to your inner landscape. It's about consciously turning inward, disconnecting from the external barrage of demands that try to dictate what you should feel, what you should buy, and what kind of perfect smiling image you should project. This initial act of self-acknowledgement is in itself an act of defiance, taking back ground that was stolen from you. Once you acknowledge it, once you allow it to exist, then you move into the raw power of authentic expression. Now understand this clearly. This isn't about wallowing in misery. This isn't about indiscriminately dumping your emotional baggage onto everyone around you, expecting them to carry your load. That's just another form of external validation seeking, another way to avoid true internal processing. This is about finding healthy, constructive, and honest outlets for your feelings. Whether it's through the visceral act of creating art, pouring your raw emotion onto a canvas, into a song, into words that stream across a page, or through honest, vulnerable conversations with those few precious trusted allies, those rare brave souls who can actually hold space for your messy truth without trying to fix it, without judging it, and without immediately defaulting to a forced positive spin. Oh, fuck it sometimes, and don't you ever forget it. Sometimes it's just a good, cathartic scream in your car, windows rolled up tight, until the frustration burns itself out in a blaze of physical release. It's about letting the pressure out, finding a release for the internal build-up before it turns toxic, before it eats you alive from the inside. Think about the profound, unburdening liberation that comes from simply saying to someone you truly trust, I feel like absolute shit today, and allowing that raw, honest truth to exist without needing to immediately fix it, rationalize it, or apologize for it. Without feeling the crushing need to then pivot to a forced, but I'm sure it'll get better, or a nauseating, just try and stay positive. No, just the stark, honest reality of your current state allowed to simply be. This is about tearing down the smile facade you've been forced to wear and letting your raw, unfiltered humanity breathe, allowing yourself to be seen, truly seen, in all your glorious, imperfect, struggling reality. Because that, and only that, is the path to genuine connection. Connection built on a lie is no connection at all. It's just two people performing for each other in separate cages. And finally, there is the brutal truth of building resilience through discomfort. Because here is the ultimate, most insidious lie they've sold you, that a good life, a happy life, is one free of pain, free of struggle, free of discomfort. that the ultimate goal is a state of perpetual ease. This is bullshit. That is a life lived in a padded cell, a life of arrested development. True resilience isn't the absence of struggle, it's the hard-won capacity to move through it. It's the ability to feel the full, raw weight of a moment, to learn from it, to adapt, to absorb the brutal lessons and to emerge on the other side with greater wisdom, deeper compassion, and an earned strength that no amount of forced positivity could ever give you. I challenge the very idea that comfort is the ultimate goal, and I propose instead that genuine growth, real evolution, true transformation happens at the jagged, uncomfortable edges of our discomfort zones. It's where the soft, untested, naive parts of you are stripped away, revealing the unyielding, unbreakable core beneath. This involves concrete steps. It involves setting unwavering boundaries against the relentless onslaught of toxic positivity. This means learning to say no, firmly and unapologetically, when someone tries to dismiss your feelings with an empty platitude or a saccharine suggestion to just think happy thoughts. It means recognizing when a conversation, a social media feed, a group chat, or even a relationship is emotionally draining and actively contributes to your inauthenticity, and having the courage to step away, to protect your inner space, to guard your emotional energy like a dragon guards its most precious gold. Because your emotional energy is finite, it's precious. Stop letting them drain it for their own convenience. It means consciously, deliberately curating your information diet. Just as you wouldn't shovel garbage into your body and expect to thrive, why are you letting a constant stream of vapid, performative positive content pollute your mind and hijack your emotional state? Be selective. Be ruthless. Unfollow the gurus. Mute the influencers peddling their perfect, unattainable lives. Seek out perspectives that challenge you, that make you think, that validate the complexity of your existence, rather than offering a simplistic, soothing lie designed to keep you complacent. Read philosophy, read history, read challenging fiction that reflects the true human condition. Feed your mind with substance, with nourishment, not emotional junk food that leaves you hollow and craving more. And perhaps most importantly, it means actively, consciously surrounding yourself with those who value honesty over superficial cheer. Find your tribe, those rare, precious souls who can actually sit with you in the darkness, who don't feel compelled to instantly fix your pain, to offer a quick solution, but who simply acknowledge it, witness it, and allow you to be. Those who allow you to be angry, to be sad, to be uncertain, to be flawed, without judgment, without needing you to put on a show for their comfort. These are your true allies in the war against inauthenticity. These are the people who will help you rebuild your emotional world on foundations of truth, not pretense. This is your battle plan for emotional liberation. It is a clear, unequivocal declaration that you will no longer be dictated to by the smile economy. It's about recognizing that a life lived fully, a life truly experienced, includes struggle, doubt, discomfort, and moments of profound soul-wrenching pain. And that embracing that struggle, that allowing yourself to feel it all, to integrate every single emotion, makes you stronger, makes you more compassionate, makes you more empathetic, and ultimately makes you more genuinely, terrifyingly free. Your untamed emotions are not a weakness. They are your inherent power. Your unfiltered truth is your greatest weapon. It's time to claim them. So there you have it, the full, unvarnished truth. You've seen how this relentless demand for positivity has been engineered, commodified, and weaponized against your very soul. You've seen the gurus with their empty promises, the filtered perfection of the digital realm, and the insidious way your pain has been rebranded as a personal failing. You've understood that your genuine feelings, the anger, the sadness, the fear, are not flaws to be hidden, but vital signals, profound truths about your existence. But here's the undeniable truth, the one they don't want you to know. You don't need to be happy all the time. You don't need to be positive. You don't need to smile through the pain. What you need to be, what you must be, is real. It starts with you. It starts the moment you refuse to conform to the emotional lies they've fed you. It starts with the courage to feel what you feel deeply and intensely, without apology, without explanation, without trying to sugarcoat it for anyone else's comfort. It starts with the audacity to express your authentic self, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's not what the prevailing culture demands. It starts with the strength to say no to the performative joy, to the endless consumption, and yes to the raw, unfiltered truth of your own magnificent, chaotic existence. Because in the end, happiness isn't a destination, it's a fleeting state, like sunlight after a storm. It comes, it goes. But authenticity, integrity, and the fierce, unapologetic embrace of your full human experience, those are the cornerstones of a life truly lived. Those are the foundations of true freedom. So go forth, Project Mayhem. Feel it all. Let the sadness wash over you. Let the anger ignite your purpose. Let the fear sharpen your instincts. Don't hide. Don't apologize. Your emotions are your truth. Thank you for joining me on this little philosophical expedition today. You know that I deeply appreciate your presence and your attention. And if you found anything in this episode useful, or you think that someone else might find it interesting as well, then please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Here comes that hideous marketing bullshit, because we have to do this, unfortunately. But we are on social media, as much as I loathe those platforms. You can find us on Instagram, on X, and on TikTok with the handle @TheObservingEye. We're on YouTube, where you can go and watch our videos, which is youtube.com/@TheObservingEye. And we've also got a beautiful website on Substack, which is theobservingeye.com. So all of those platforms, you can go and chat to us and engage and comment and all of the usual things that you can do with these social spaces. I've also got an email, which I'm not entirely sure is a good idea, but you can email me at david@theobservingeye.com with your questions or suggestions or anything you want to get off your chest about philosophy. Not therapy, I can't be your therapist, but I'm happy to field philosophical questions and existential horrors. That's all good. And I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, which is normally within a day or so. Thanks everybody, take care, much love, and I'll catch you soon.